Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Kirsty.
And this is our podcast covering the highs, lows and realities of parenting a child with neurodiversity.
Each week we'll be sharing updates from our lives and hearing from a variety of guests about their advice and experiences.
This is Love Needs No Words. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode. Kirsty, how are you?
I am good. It feels like we haven't done this for ages. It feels like it's been a really long time since we last caught up. So I'm sure there's loads for us to talk about.
I've literally got so much to fill you in on. I've written a list. But first of all, I know about your day. So and how traumatic it's been. So, well, I know partially what's happened. I still need to be filled in. I was like, no, we're going to wait for the listeners to hear. So yeah, tell us all what's happened today.
Oh my goodness. So I got a call from the head teacher of Max's school at lunchtime, and I immediately thought, oh no, what's happened here? And it wasn't actually quite what I was expecting. So basically they said to me, she sounded quite stressed. She said, Max has had a head injury. We need you to come immediately. I was in London at work. Thankfully, of course I was, of all the days. Thankfully, his dad was at home, who'd just spent 40 minutes trying to get our daughter to sleep, who's having a nightmare with sleep at the moment. That's a whole other topic. And she'd literally been asleep 10 minutes, and I called him and I said, you need to go down to the school. Something's happened, but I didn't really have any context to it. Anyway, I'm laughing now because he's fine, just to caveat. He basically managed to get hit on the head with a spade and crack his head open. So he ended up at the hospital having his head glued. And it's funny because he's fine. He's obviously very tired and a bit perplexed by it all. But I asked him what happened, and he said, my friend was just showing me how to throw the spade. And the first time I threw the spade up and splat, it went in the mud. The second time I threw the spade up and crack, it fell on my head and cracked open my head.
Oh no.
And that's just the way that he explained it. Anyway, so he's fine, but it was all it was one of those days where you wouldn't have expected that to happen in the morning.
Yeah, you're quite good in these situations though. I'm a panicker, where Kirsty's very cool and calm. Like she was like, oh, Max has gone to A&E, he's cut his head open. I'm like, oh my God. Like, what do you think, they're gonna have to glue it? And stressing, and you're like, yeah, probably make glue.
Yes, honestly, this is not the first head injury to the point
you
where
and
I think it's just exposure therapy, actually, because this is not the first trip we've had to A&E with a head injury with Max, to the point where his dad actually said I considered giving a false name because I was concerned. Yeah, no, he's a really clumsy child, so this is not the first time we've been there for a glue on the head, but he's absolutely fine, bless him.
Oh, bless him. I'm glad he's all right.
Yeah, no, he's fine. He'll be good. A good night's sleep and
back to school tomorrow. Oh, bless you. So how's everything else?
Good. Not too bad. We survived half term. We got to half term, which it felt like we were, pulling huge stones uphill by the end of it. He was so tired. I have never seen him so tired. To the point where, he was white as a sheet and had huge bags under his eyes, and we were putting him to bed as early as is humanly possible. He was just done. So a week actually for him to relax was really needed. And we were mad actually, because we tried putting him in the school holiday club. And he actually did okay, bless him. We just really wanted to see how he did in case we need it in the future. And he did fine, but I did feel a bit guilty because I think, really, to be honest, he just needed the break. And actually he really missed the routine of school. He kept asking, he kept saying he wanted to go back to school with his friends who are obviously familiar in his class, whereas the school holiday club had lots of children from the school. So yeah, it wasn't a total disaster, but he was pretty ready for a break. What about Alex?
Yeah, he did all right, actually. I think the same as you. He was really tired towards the end, and we're still getting like the early wake ups. So I think he's just exhausted. He was apparently a bit emotional at school today. So I think it's like, overtired,
Yeah.
makes him feel just a little bit teary. And they're pushing them, aren't they, there?
Yeah.
So I think, the week did him really good. And he actually went to Wales with John to see John's dad. And we were a bit anxious about that because he's not been away with, without me, but also, to his granddad's before. It was a place he hadn't been, but no, John said he did really well. He slept well. They did a lot of walking. So I think
That's
he was
good.
he was knackered by the end
Tired.
of the day. But yeah, I was really proud of him because it's another place that he's not been. He just took it in his stride. And but likewise, as soon as Monday came around, he was getting his school uniform on. You could see he was like excited to go back. So
Yeah.
that was good.
Yeah, and that's a really positive thing, isn't it? Because obviously we hear so many stories of children not wanting to go into school for various different reasons. And not to say that we'll never get to that point, because we're 8-9 weeks into reception, but it's positive that they are at the moment enjoying going into school.
Yeah, definitely. He sort of
It's a relief.
skips when he gets to the
Oh,
gate
bless
into
him.
I know, into the main building. And yeah, that's all you can ask for, is that he's
Yeah, agreed.
obviously really content there. So no, that's all good. Any other updates?
What's happened from our side? So, one, we had or I had his first EHCP review since his first draft was put into place, and final EHCP was put into place. Which was really good. So spent some time with the Senko and his class teacher talking about how he was getting on, which was generally really positive. Obviously there's still some bumps in the road and things that we need to be aware of, and that's obviously now reflected in his EHCP, because when it was first issued, it was issued when he was in nursery, so loads and loads has changed. But it was really nice to hear some real positives, and things that we try and talk about it, don't we, about things that they weren't doing before that they are doing now. And that was a really good opportunity actually to really reflect on some of the things that he's doing that he wasn't doing before, and some of the concerns as well that nursery and ourselves had with him going into school, which in some cases haven't actually manifested themselves. Some have, but generally it was really positive meeting, so that was good. We are now kind of in the space of trying to get an occupational therapist for his fine motor skills, because writing is something that he's really struggling with.
Sure.
Yeah, he's hypermobile in his fingers, so that
Alex
doesn't
is
help. He
actually as
can't.
well.
Yeah, okay. So he can't get the pressure. Is what they're saying. They can't get the pressure on with the pen on the paper. So he's struggling in that space. So if anyone's listening who's kind of gone through that previously and has any tips, I am so open to hearing anything. We're sort of trying pen grips. We're also doing big chalks and things like that to try and sort of encourage him to have the confidence to do it, because he's not overly confident in it, but also he's got some therapy as well to try and build the strength in his fingers. So yeah, that was probably one of the main things that came out of his EHCP review, but it was really positive to hear that he's actually settled in and he's really exceeded, I think, everyone's expectations, really, which is lovely really nice to hear. Yeah, and it felt positive. It felt really positive and very I think just realistic in terms of the school kind of get where the challenges are. They're getting better as well. They're saying that they're getting better at sort of reading his cues and picking up on when he's getting deregulated in class, dysregulated, and how they can sort of preempt that and get him into a sensory break or having some quiet time. So that's really positive as well, because that will make a big difference for him, because he's not really at a point at the moment where he can really identify it for himself. He definitely still needs that intervention of someone to help him, because he's still really little. But yeah, it felt reassuring, I think, as his parent, to know that a lot of the stress that I'd been carrying around, I think, for a long time. Maybe it was a life lesson, actually, to a certain degree, and not worrying too much about what was coming, because a lot of the things that I really worried about haven't happened. I really worried that he wouldn't even go into the classroom. I
Yeah.
really worried that he would really resist going to school. And actually, we have had an occurrence of that, but in the general main, we haven't particularly. I really worried about him building relationships and friendships with other children. And although there's still a long way to go with the social side of things, he is interacting with other children in his class and playing alongside them, which was nice to hear. So yeah, probably a life lesson in trying not to worry too much
Mm.
about all the things that could happen that may or may not. And it's very easy to say, isn't it? Because there'll be other things where I'll be put into that situation all over again.
Yeah, easier said than done. But I
Yeah,
just, when I was listening, I just think it's so nice when all the experts are coming together and they've all want him to do well, and they're all
yeah, it really
sitting in
feels
that
like that.
space, really trying to find out the things that he's still struggling with and getting that
Mm.
help for him, which is why, if they're in the right environment, I keep saying it, but they honestly, they do thrive, don't they? Because they've
I
got the best
agree.
people around them.
Yeah, and I really remember something that Jordan, who came on the podcast, was talking about and saying, be that parent, push for the things that you really need. And one of the things that I
Yeah.
really struggled with when Max joined school was the change in communication. I'd had a lot of communication from nursery, and it was just a real jump
Yeah.
in terms of what I was getting from school. I was really not hearing a lot, only really when things were going wrong. And I totally understand that, but it was a real shift for me to get my head around. But one of the things that I have pushed in the EHCP review is to get more feedback on a weekly basis. I appreciate that in our circumstance, probably daily feedback, unless there is a particular incident that's happened, isn't probably realistic or at this stage massively necessary, but actually a weekly sort of update is really helpful. So they started to send me a weekly email of um, 3 things that he's really enjoyed that week and 3 things that he's found more challenging. Um, and
Brilliant.
so I received one today, which talked about some of the things that he'd really enjoyed, because that's great. Because my point was, actually, if you tell me that, then I can work on those things. Bringing in the things that he's enjoying doing and
Yeah.
do more of that at home, and also help support some of the more challenging areas as well. So like at the moment, he's finding it difficult. He wants to be in control, so he wants to be the first person to do anything. So whether that's lining up or if they're playing something, he wants to be the first person. And actually he started to bring it into at home, so he's been asking us to line up behind him, but everyone has to line up behind him. So yeah, which actually we'd kind of just been doing, but actually I hadn't thought about the impact that then has on school.
Yeah.
And so I sort of responded today to say, actually, I think I can help with that at home, because
Yeah.
I can start encouraging him to say, okay, Max, today you can be at the front of the
Yeah.
queue or front of the line. Tomorrow I'm going to be at the front, and then Daddy can take a turn and such like. So hopefully that means that some of that behavior might then feed
Yeah,
through into school. I
absolutely.
mean, that's the idea, but it is nice, hopefully, if we're on the same kind of hymn sheet, because that's important for me at
Absolutely.
least. And I feel like I also have more of an understanding of what's going on during the school week.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that, because I get feedback daily on what he's been
Okay.
doing. And it's so nice because I don't get the luxury of hearing how his day
Yes.
was, or, and even with you, you're only getting snippets. You're not getting like
Yeah.
the full, and everybody's the same. I think many people listening can relate, but yeah, I get an update each day in his book about and even like today, he was a bit emotional today. So that's really important. I know that, so I can kind of keep an eye on his sleep, but also he can't tell me if he's not feeling very well. So just hearing that, it's like, okay, I'll keep an eye out and see if
Yeah.
he's not very well. So yeah, I completely relate to getting a bit of feedback so that you know what's going on.
Yeah. And obviously, we're all kind of working through this journey of having to really advocate for our children and such like. I'm still trying to navigate that space, if I'm honest. Sometimes I'm a terrible people pleaser in general, so having to be that person is something that I'm having to adjust to.
I'm the same. I mean, we've got his review actually in a couple of weeks, so I'll fill everybody in on how that goes. But we are definitely going to push for a 1-to-1 because Alex is very happy in the space, but they get so much out of him when they're doing his bucket time, or all the children go off to do phonics and Alex isn't at that level yet, so he is kept behind, and they do like 1-to-1 focus tasks.
Okay.
And they're like surprised at how much he knows and how much he does, and he really gets a lot out of that 1-to-1 time. So that's something we're going to push for, because they're seeing the benefits of just having that focus time with him. But he's also started to eat like the sensory stuff that's out, so like the lentils and the pasta. So we were trying to work out what it was. Is it because he's hungry, because he's having school meals? And again, it was really interesting having Jacqueline on last week saying to us, look, just think about that environment. It's really loud, it's really busy, the smells, it's all very intense. I needed to hear that, because selfishly I was thinking free school meals and it's saving money not having to do a packed lunch every day, and also he was eating so well at nursery, a variety of different things. Let's just keep going with it. Anyway, they've been great in this, that everyday pasta is available. So I've been now putting that on his, if there's something I think he definitely won't eat that, I'll just put pasta and, pasta and pesto or whatever. And they've been great. They've been really adaptable. And most days now he's eating what's on there. So that's got better. But I was thinking, is it because he's hungry? But also when he gets told off, he laughs and runs away. So he obviously knows what he's doing is naughty. But also it's not great for them, because it's a choking hazard and it's something they're going to have to keep monitoring. So if anything, I said, well, this is great leverage for a 1-to-1, because we can use the fact that he's not safe.
Yeah.
But the teacher said, oh, I've been a bit more stern with him and it seems to be working. So that's great. I said, well, he needs it. He's being a bit cheeky. But eating sand every day and having that in his poo is not the one.
No.
But like, Alex, this isn't doing your bum any good. So if you could just refrain.
No. It's not a sensory thing, is it?
Well, and it could be that. So the best thing that's come out of it actually is we've moved county. For those listening, I was in Hertfordshire and I'm now in Bedfordshire. And the SEND advisory team got in touch with the school and said, is there anything we can help you with? Well, they've said that's never happened. They've always had to chase the team to say, look, we've got a child in our school. Could you come and help? So Alex's SEND teacher sent me like an email saying I'm really like overexcited that they've got in touch with me. So they're coming in a couple of weeks to monitor Alex in those environments, see what he's doing and provide support. And they've also asked for me to come in and have a chat. So
brilliant.
I mean, amazing, because it's something's come up and it's being tackled without me having to fight. Because everything's a fight, isn't it?
How refreshing.
So it is really refreshing, and something that I've was quite surprised at, because I've always had to fight for everything. So yes, that's really positive.
And has he settled well at school? Because we haven't caught up in such a long time now.
Yeah, he really has. He's really happy with going in. He's he's got a really lovely group of kids around him that really understand him. The teachers are amazing. They're all doing like 1-to-1 bucket time with him every day, which he gets a lot out of. He's joining in dancing and singing. And then those times where he sort of can't join in, he's getting that sort of focus time. So I'm really happy with how he's getting on. I feel like similarly to you, this has gone far better than I thought it was going to. And I don't know what year one brings, and that's something that we'll discuss in his review. And then to my surprise, Alex sat for his school photo. I couldn't believe it.
Have you got a picture?
I'll have to send it to you. He looks a bit like a rabbit in the headlights, but that's okay. I was so proud of him. When I got there, I was thinking they were going to say, oh, he didn't manage it, but he looked into the camera and he's even smiling a little bit. So, that was something I I couldn't prepare him for. He didn't know was coming, and he wouldn't have sat for that a year ago. He would have just like done a runner, or just wouldn't have understood the concept of lining up for it, because he had to line up and wait his turn and all of that sort of thing. So I messaged around the family group being like, Alex up for his school photo. So yeah, I ended up buying like 50 pictures.
And they're not cheap, are they?
I mean, we couldn't get Alex to look into a camera a year ago. He wouldn't look at the camera. So yeah, it was massive that he did that. Another thing is, I wanted to mention, I think I did mention briefly on the podcast last time, was he started playing with his cousins. So I remember you saying about Max playing with his cousin on holiday, and I said, oh, I can't wait for that. And then all of a sudden he's like looking for them to chase him, which was really lovely. I mean, not long ago there was zero interaction, and for those listening, when he was about 18 months, I used to go to my mum and dad's, and they used to cry because they'd say Alex doesn't like us, because he just wasn't engaging with them at all, which was really sad. And I used to get really emotional on the way home. So to see them like, come on Alex, and like running up the stairs and him following them, and then he gets emotional when they leave because he doesn't want them to go. So yeah, it was it's just amazing, really, seeing how
huge progress, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And then we went to see the fireworks this weekend, and there was an outdoor trampoline area, so he was playing on there, and we heard him say hi to a boy that was jumping near him. And the soft play this weekend, he was following our friends' children up the slide and laughing. So yeah, it's really, really lovely to see this side of him coming out.
And actually, if we'd have been having this conversation, like you said, a year ago, this would have been totally different.
Yeah, definitely. And he started saying a few more words. So Kirsty's actually heard this, but I thought I'd play it on the podcast because, the first one he started saying is mama. So he actually filmed himself saying this in bed this morning, but hopefully you can hear it. But I haven't heard him say mama since he was probably a year old.
Mama. Mama. Mama.
So yeah, that's really lovely.
That's really nice.
And then I was filming, this is the one Kirsty's heard. So I was filming them in the bath, and Alex says, get off of me, get away, to his sister. So if anyone's going to get you talking, it's your annoying little sister in the bath. So I'll just play you that so you can hear it. So you can just about hear it. He says, get off of me, get away. So yeah, so we would listen to that back. We were thinking, oh my gosh. So it's slowly but surely coming out.
Look at your face, your eyes are so happy.
I know. It's just so hard.
I'm so happy for you.
When you've been waiting for so long for just to hear anything. And there'll be many listeners that can relate, that you don't know whether or not that's it for a while and that it's going to regress again. So you have to just take the moments that you get the words and just think, oh, it's in there. It's just, I read something today that it's actually sometimes a lot of confidence. You know, there's a lot of anxiety with autism, as we know, and a lack of confidence. And so if you've never said anything before, it's building that confidence to say the words. So I'm sure with Alex, who's got quite high anxiety, there's also that level of of not feeling very confident enough to say it. But yeah, it's there, as I say, if anything's going to get you talking, it's your annoying little sister. Or me, yeah. Your annoying mother.
Your annoying mother.
He started like hysterically laughing when he gets home from school. So
the manic
although it sounds lovely, it's obviously a coping mechanism.
We have the manic laughing too.
Do you have that as well?
Yes. Yes, we do. His is a little bit like what you were saying earlier, where Alex will do it in response to maybe being, told to not to do something. That we have that a lot. And apparently that's coming out at school as well. So they've picked that up at school. Yeah. So I don't know whether it's doesn't know what to do with the emotion of being basically being told off. And so just literally laugh. But yeah, it's like, it's not like a giggle laugh. It's like a really loud.
Manic, yeah.
Yeah. laugh.
Oh, that's interesting that you're having the same, 'cause
Yeah.
it's like with the sensory pinching and squeezing that he needs
Mm.
to do. It could be worse, obviously, but it is annoying, and you can like with the pinching, you can feel very touched out.
Mm.
Um, and the laughing's got better. It was mainly at the beginning of school, actually, like with the first few weeks. And I thought,
Regulation
you're
thing.
coping, you're trying to
Yeah.
cope with like the stress of the day.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then we took him to a private ENT appointment because I just wanted to check that there was nothing else that was causing the no speech. So I know not everyone's fortunate enough to be able to do that. It was just playing on my mind so much that maybe it could be something else that was linked to it, because he sleeps with his mouth open and he snores. So the consultant's given us some steroids to give him, which are horrendous, 2 in each nostril. Anyway, we'll see if it has an effect on his sleep, because what the consultant was saying is his tonsils are quite enlarged, not enough to have an operation. But basically, if he's sleeping with his mouth open, he could be waking up early because he's got dry mouth. That can cause early waking. So he was like, look, just give it a go and see if it makes a difference. So we'll see
That's
how
really
we get on with that.
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, we both suffer with the early waking, don't we? And we've actually had a sleep consultant with Max when he was a lot younger, because the early rising was so chronically bad. It was starting to get that way towards the end of half term. And for Max, it's very much when he is overtired, he wakes even earlier. And it's this
Yes.
vicious circle of you're playing cat and mouse because you're trying to get him into bed early, but there's only so early that you can put them to bed. So yeah, we were having anything from 4:30 again.
Yes.
And we'd kind of really made quite a lot of progress. And it's never been like a 7 till 7. He's
No.
always we consider it a real celebration if we can get between 6 and 6:30. That's like
Same
amazing.
here. Yeah.
But yeah, it was getting quite early before half term, so we literally flooded him with sleep as much as we could during half term, like car naps, the lot, and
Yes.
that's helped. And I suspect probably what will happen as we build up to Christmas is that it will happen again. But yeah, and same situation as what you've got, like with having two. The younger one will wake them up, and we have the same
Yes.
issue. Max will go through a phase of waking up early, which then wakes Eva up, and then Eva will then be overtired, and it's basically just
It's brutal,
a
isn't it?
disaster. Sleep disaster.
It is.
But
It
the
is.
difficulty is obviously the lack of sleep for them is so pivotal, and it
Yes.
affects everything else, and it
Yeah.
heightens all of the other things. So when he's really tired, his tolerances are so low, it impacts on the behavior. We then end up in situations with biting, etc. And you literally can link so much of it back to the fact that he's just really tired, and
Yeah.
he gets overwhelmed way more easily.
Yeah.
So that's not ideal, if I'm honest. So you
No.
have my whole sympathies with the sleep thing.
I've got a lovely story to tell you. So I met a friend for dinner the other day, and she said that her son came home and said, my best friend at school has his own toys and plays differently. He also prefers to wear headphones in loud spaces. So she's since found out this best friend's autistic and non-verbal. And it's just so lovely that despite the differences and the lack of speech, they've found a common ground. So we were both a bit of a mess when she told me, because
Oh,
it was just so heartwarming, because kids are amazing. Like
they are.
he's like friends with him, and the things that he's doing different were just something he was just reeling off as like not a big deal. Like I just thought it was so lovely.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
had to mention that.
I think
Really
you worry,
easy.
don't you, a lot as a parent, especially when your child has sort of social challenges and difficulties. You worry about what the outcome of that is going to be like, because you kind of have an adult lens on it, and
Yeah.
you see it from your own eyes and your own experiences as well. But I think younger children, often they'll find common ground
Yeah.
in so many ways. I would imagine that probably gets a bit more complex as they get older and they have to navigate that kind of social side of life. But yeah, for at the moment, I just don't think they necessarily see it. Max had a difficult day a couple of weeks ago, and he bit a little boy that he's really fond of, and spends, a fair amount of time. They walk to school together and such like, and yeah, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is hard. Anyway, I spoke to, I apologized to the little boy's mum. She was like, oh no, he's fine, he's still still loves to play with Max, and he was just quite pragmatic about it when he spoke to his mum about it. So yeah, because obviously I really worry about it, and I don't think that'll ever go away.
I think as well, we think because our children have got additional needs that they stand out as a sore thumb to everyone in the classroom. And then I feel sometimes I stand out to other parents, and it's so ridiculous to feel like that, but I guess it's natural to feel like that. So I became part of the parents WhatsApp group, and I put in there, thank you to all your lovely children. They've made Alex feel so welcome. He was diagnosed with autism a year ago, and they've been amazing. I said, there's one little girl that comes in with him in the morning, and he has a routine of putting the teacups up, and she comes and helps him. And I put this all in the WhatsApp group, and I sent it, and I thought, it's actually really sad. I felt a bit embarrassed that I felt the need to kind of explain my story and then thank the children. And I just thought, just cringing a little bit, like, is that a bit of an overkill?
Actually, I think there are a lot of situations where you are different as a parent, and that's just the reality. And I know people that we've had on the podcast previously have felt the same experience, because actually, and we've had this before, haven't we, with when the boys were at nursery. Our boys were never invited to any of the parties, and we weren't part of, the WhatsApp groups that they had and such like. So actually, you are different to a certain degree, and it's not unsurprising that you feel that way of it. And actually, I think it's just really nice to thank them as well, because then, you know what, they might have had a conversation with their child, and it's important then to raise awareness of it. And actually, they might not have had the confidence to have spoken to their child about it before, because they might not have known Alex was autistic, but now they know, and now they can have that conversation with their son or daughter with actual fact.
Yeah, that's thank you. You've made me feel better about that. Hopefully. But yeah, overall, they're doing well, aren't they? So I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased for them. So we better wrap this up. So on podcast news, we've got a very exciting month for guests. So we've got a sleep consultant on next week. So I'll be sending a post out this week so that you can put comments below or send us an inbox message if you've got any questions for her. We have stories about autism. So that's James coming on. He's got quite a big following on Facebook, so check him out. And we've got the National Autistic Society, Girl with Autism on Instagram, and a speech and language therapist. So yeah, get ready for those. And we'll be asking questions for most of them. So if you have anything you'd like to ask, please send us a message on Instagram, love_needs_no_words. And don't forget, all of our interviews are in video format now on our YouTube channel, Love Needs No Words. So please like and subscribe.
It was so nice to catch up with you. I feel like it's been ages.
I hope Max is okay in the morning and he stops playing with spades.
Yeah, no more spades. No more spades. Do you know what? It will just be something else next time. It'll be the bucket next time.
It'll be the bucket, yeah. The bucket went bang, and then it went.
He'll trip over the bucket. Head. We'll have a broken. Oh gosh, no, actually, I'm not.
No,
don't
say
going to go there. Thank you. See you next week. Bye.
See you next week. Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye everyone.